Paris, 1885. The clock tower chimes 4:45 on a foggy Friday afternoon. Detective Moreau waits impatiently at the train station, eager to visit his cousin in Versailles for a long-awaited dinner. But fate has other plans.
Late again. Typical.
Moreau rises slowly, intending to take a leisurely walk, but his gaze is suddenly drawn to Officer Jean rushing towards him. Without missing a beat, Moreau steps forward, his expression shifting from impatience to alertness as he moves to intercept them.
Moreau! Thank goodness you're here. I didn't expect to see you. What a relief. There's been a murder on the Midnight Express. We need your help.
I suppose my cousin won't be seeing me tonight. Could you ask one of the officers to let him know I won't be able to make it? Lead the way.
The Midnight Express, a masterpiece of design, stands still 12 miles from the station. The sleek, refined lines of the locomotive speak of luxury, a train built for the wealthy and the influential, a vessel that promises a journey of the highest standards. Today, however, it has become the backdrop to a far darker tale. André Bernard, a renowned novelist, lay lifeless in his compartment, a man of prestige, admired by readers across France, a mentor to many, including his traveling apprentice, Madeleine Laurent.
Multiple stab wounds, but no struggle near the victim. The walls, knife scratches. Someone was trying to escape, or someone was attacking in desperation. This wasn't just a robbery gone wrong.
The room was a chaotic scene of violence, scratches on the wall, and blood splattered across the room. Yet, the door had been left slightly ajar. No forced entry, no locked compartment. This murder wasn't planned, it was desperate. And then, a faint shoe print, nearly hidden under a layer of dust. Soot and grass stains clung to its edges. The Midnight Express is no ordinary train. It's a luxury liner where privacy is paramount. Private compartments are accessible only to a select few, those in the VIP section and the conductor. This narrows the list of suspects to 4. Gérard Moreau, a reserved businessman with a sharp gaze, calculated, controlled, and accustomed to power. Madeleine Laurent, André Bernard's apprentice, a talented writer, but curiously, not particularly distressed over her mentor's untimely death. Jules Laurent, the train's head steward, polite, observant, and accustomed to secrets whispered in first-class compartments. Henri Lambert, the conductor, disciplined, meticulous, but something about his unease suggests more.
One of you knows what happened tonight, and I intend to find out who.
Inside Blackwood's briefcase, Moreau found a knife, clean, wiped free of any blood, but next to it, a crumpled cloth, stained with Bernard's blood.
Strange. Why would the killer wipe the knife clean, only to shove the bloody cloth in here as well?
It made no sense. A murderer trying to cover their tracks wouldn't leave behind such an incriminating mistake. It was as if the scene had been staged, planted by someone unsure how to properly frame another.
This isn't a careless mistake, it's intentional. Someone wants us to believe Blackwood is guilty.
Needing a moment to clear his mind, Moreau decided to step away from the scene, heading toward the dining car for a brief respite. He takes a moment to relax, his eyes scanning the room. The room is filled with other passengers sitting in quiet discontent, their faces reflecting mild annoyance at the delay. Nothing more. To them, it's just another routine inconvenience, an ordinary setback on their journey. Moreau's attention is drawn to two train attendants who are in deep conversation. Their tone is laced with frustration, and Moreau catches snippets of their dissatisfaction. Nothing out of the ordinary, but enough to pique his interest.
I'm telling you, the conductor was in a foul mood before we even left. And now, a murder on the train? What a mess. And that passenger complaint about the delayed departure? He didn't even want to hear it. Told me to get out of his way.
I heard it. The rain came down suddenly, right before the train was set to depart. Didn't the conductor make us stop so he could check the tracks? Said something about needing to ensure everything was in order before we left. I can't believe it. And then this? After all that fuss about the weather?
The words hang in the air, and Moreau freezes in place as the pieces start to click together. The heavy rain, the conductor's bad mood, his need to inspect the train just before departure. Everything suddenly makes sense.
It wasn't just the victim's compartment that held the key. It was the tracks themselves. The killer had been there outside during the rain.
The storm, the tracks, the decision to leave his post, all of it had led him to this point. The footprint wasn't a mistake. It was the evidence Moreau had been waiting for. The killer hadn't tried to escape. They simply left a trail behind. A trail that would now lead directly to them. Or does it? Moreau knelt by the faint shoe print on the floor of the victim's compartment, studying it closely. It was incomplete. Just the edge of a heel, a partial toe impression. But something felt off. He had checked all the suspect's shoes, yet none bore the same marks. How could that be? He had examined the conductor's shoes, expecting a match. But while the conductor's shoes had faint soot and grass stains, they did not fully align with the size of the mark left behind. It made no sense. All other suspects' shoes were squeaky clean. The murderer must have cleaned them. Jean leaned over to take a closer look at the shoe print.
Strange, isn't it? Just one shoe print. And unclear, too, like something was dragged over it.
Moreau's eyes narrowed. A realization struck him like lightning. His expression darkened, but he said nothing. Instead, he turned to Officer Jean.
Summon all of the suspects, and meanwhile, we have a few calls to make.
Moreau took one last glance at the smudged shoe print, then stepped out of the compartment. The case was finally unraveling. Everyone stood in silence, the weight of the moment pressing down on them like a heavy fog. The air seemed to thicken with tension.
At first, I believed the murderer was Henri Lambert, the conductor.
He was the only one who stepped outside to inspect the tracks, and the only visible footprint in the victim's compartment contained soot and grass, the kind that might cling to someone walking along the tracks.
But something didn't add up. I checked Lambert's shoes. The stains were there, but the size didn't match the print left behind. It was close, but not exact. The murderer must have wiped their shoes clean afterwards.
I was misled until Jean's comment earlier reminded me. The footprint wasn't just unclear, it had been dragged over. The smudged footprint was caused by something dragging over it, the hem of a long coat. The conductor wore only a tucked-in shirt, which leaves only one suspect wearing a long coat, Mademoiselle Laurent.
I see a small stain of soot near the hem of your coat, the exact same soot found in the shoe print, the soot that could only have come from the crime scene.
But more importantly, you're not even Madeleine Laurent.
The room fell deadly silent while Madeleine's face went pale.
You were never meant to be on this train because the real Madeleine Laurent wasn't here at all. Madeleine Laurent has been found lying unconscious at the back of the train station.
Officer Jean stepped forward, holding a small notebook.
I contacted a few well-known writers who have worked with Madeleine Laurent before. They all described her as having striking green eyes.
Moreau stared at the woman before him.
Your eyes are blue.
Stunned gasps rippled through the room. Madeleine, or rather, the woman masquerading as her, stiffened, her breath coming shorter.
A writer who has been an old friend of André told us about how years ago André Bernard employed a young woman as his apprentice, a promising young writer full of talent. But then, he suddenly replaced her. He took another apprentice, Madeleine, not because she was better, but because he had an affair with her. And then, to add insult to injury, he stole the work of his original apprentice, passed it off as his own. Every word she wrote, every idea she created, he claimed it was his. Is that right, Marie Durand?
Moreau took a step closer, his voice quieter, but no less intense.
You were erased from history, forgotten, and you wanted revenge.
Marie swallowed hard.
You followed Bernard to the train station knowing he was boarding the Midnight Express. You found the real Madeleine, sedated her, and left her behind, taking her ticket, her coat, her name. No one would question it. Everyone believed you were his apprentice.
The train rumbled beneath them. The weight of Moreau's words seemed to press down on Marie, forcing the truth out of her. Finally, she exhaled a slow, shuddering breath.
He deserved it.
Gasps rippled through the room.
He stole my life's work. My name should be in every newspaper, every bookshop, not his. And after all these years, he still profited off of my words. He thought I would just stay silent, that I would just disappear. But I made sure he disappeared first.
Jean stepped forward, cuffs in hand. Marie didn't resist. She only looked past Moreau toward the window, as if staring at something far beyond the night.
The law will judge him for his crimes, but now it will judge you too.
The mystery was solved, and for Marie Durand, her journey had come to an end. And so, as the city slumbers once more, justice is served.